Hours after President Biden made his reelection announcement, a very bitter Donald Trump attempted to rebut Biden's campaign video with lies, conspiracy theories, and revisionist history. Intrigued? Then click that like and subscribe and enjoy the video. Alright, so as we discussed in a previous video, President Biden has formally announced his re-election campaign for 2024, and the stage is set for a rematch against Donald Trump that year. Now, obviously we know what happened in 2020. He kicked Trump's ass. Trump is very bitter about it. He even tried to stage a coup over it. But now, after Biden made his re-election video, which was very good, Donald Trump, a very bitter Donald Trump, went to Truth Social and basically attempted a rebuttal to President Biden's campaign video. And it's about 4 minutes long, and Donald Trump is speaking very slowly, so kind of like with the Joe Biden video, we're going to play it at 1.25 speed to just make it a little bit brisk. But yeah, this is really interesting, and it's full of lies, conspiracy theories, and revisionist history. There should almost be a drinking game that anytime Donald Trump lies or tells a conspiracy theory or engages in revisionist history, you take a shot. But if you did, even though this video is only 4 minutes and 30 seconds long, you'd probably be tipped over from alcohol poisoning 45 seconds in. So anyway, don't do that. But it'd be an interesting drinking game maybe later on this weekend, so food for thought. Anyway, let's review this very bitter video by Donald Trump and see what the former president has to say.
You could take the 5 worst presidents in American history and put them together, and they would not have done the damage Joe Biden has done to our nation in just a few short years, not even close. Thanks to Joe Biden's socialist spending calamity, American families are being decimated by the worst inflation in half a century. Banks are failing, our currency is crashing, and the dollar will soon no longer be the world standard, which will be our greatest defeat in over 200 years. Real wages have been falling 24 months in a row. In other words, under Biden, workers have gotten a pay cut each and every month for 2 straight years. We have surrendered our energy independence, just like we surrendered in Afghanistan, which we had just a short time ago, and the price of gasoline just hit a 5-month high, and it's going much higher than that. Under my leadership, we had the most secure border in U.S. history by far. Never had a border like this. Under Biden, the southern border has been abolished, and millions of illegal aliens have been released into our communities. What's happening now is beyond belief. They're coming in from mental institutions and prisons. They're all being emptied. They're being dumped into the United States of America. Many of these people are very dangerous. They're being dumped. We're like a dumping ground.
What is it with this guy and the word dump? Like, he says the word dump like it's I don't know, like it's some sort of fetish or whatever. Just dumps, huge dumps, massive dumps. There was a lot to fact check there, and we're only like a third of the way in. So, okay, a couple of things. Number one, Donald Trump added more to the nation's debt in 4 years than any president in history. Nearly $8 trillion was added to the debt on his watch. Joe Biden has not come close. Now, maybe Joe Biden will exceed that, but you also got to think, what are you spending the money on? Joe Biden's got us a bipartisan infrastructure deal, the CHIPS Act, the PACT Act, historic investments in climate and change and infrastructure and all these things. So if we're going to spend the money, maybe we should spend the money on things that matter, unlike Trump, who liked to spend money on $2 trillion worth of tax cuts for the rich, stuff like that. Energy independence, we are still energy independent. That is a complete lie. It's been debunked again and again and again. Gas prices, we thought we heard the last of those, but now he's, digging that out of the closet. The president of the United States does not control gas prices. The fact of the matter is that in 2018, Donald Trump made a deal with Saudi Arabia essentially to cut prices, have OPEC countries cut oil production, which set the stage for production issues that we had in the aftermath of COVID. I mean, just all these things, but lie after lie after lie. The southern border still exists. As a matter of fact, funding under the Biden administration compared to the Trump administration for the southern border is effectively the same. Manpower, effectively the same. The policies, the manpower, and the funding for the southern border, effectively the same under both administrations. So whatever your thoughts are on the southern border, the idea that Joe Biden is doing something radically different than Donald Trump is preposterous. So I mean, just one lie after another. And again, there's more to go through. By the way, when he talks about the 5 worst presidents in history, even though he was one man and only got elected for one term, I think you could make a compelling case that his name would qualify for at least the top 3 of the top 5 worst presidents in history. So anyway, let's hear more of what Donald Trump has to say.
Our cities have been overrun with homelessness, drug addicts, and violent criminals who are being released from jail en masse with no retribution whatsoever, while law enforcement is weaponized against law-abiding conservatives or Republicans or people they just don't like. Our children are being indoctrinated and mutilated by left-wing freaks and zealots. The senior ranks of our military have gone completely woke, and our military is suffering greatly. Biden has totally humiliated our nation on the world stage, starting with the Afghanistan disaster, perhaps the most embarrassing event in the history of our country. It meant so much to our enemies when they watched that horrible retreat. Russia.
All right, so the Afghanistan withdrawal, we've done videos about this. It was the Trump administration in February 2020 who made a deal with the Taliban. They made a commitment to the Taliban. For the first time in his life, Donald Trump honored a commitment. You know, after cheating on multiple wives, breaking business deals, the one time that this man honored a deal, it was to the Taliban. He made a commitment for the United States to get out of Afghanistan, to withdraw all troops. During the year, his last year in office, he took United States troops in Afghanistan from 13,000 down to fewer than 2,500. He didn't enforce the terms of the deal with the Taliban, so the Taliban ran roughshod over the United States. They did whatever they wanted. They didn't honor any of their commitments to the United States. And that's the circumstances, the context that Donald Trump left for Joe Biden. So that's on Donald Trump. Joe Biden was dealt a terrible hand by this incompetent moron, and he played it to the best of his ability. So, yeah, to whatever extent anybody gets any credit for managing the Afghanistan withdrawal, it all goes to Biden. And if there's any blame that goes to the Afghanistan withdrawal and the consequences and the difficulty, it all goes to Trump because he was the one who set the terms and conditions. Okay, so anyway, just wanted to refute that. Let's hear more of what Donald Trump has to say.
Russia is teaming up with China. Iran is days away from a nuclear bomb, not even thinkable. Ukraine has been devastated.
By the way, the Iranian nuclear situation, yeah, that is devastating. If only we had an agreement, an effective agreement that with Iran that was working and both sides agreed to for Iran to not develop nuclear material. Oh, wait, we did. We did have that agreement under the Obama-Biden administration. And it was Donald Trump who shredded the Iran nuclear deal, which incentivized Iran to restart its nuclear development program. That is also 100% on Donald Trump. More lies and revisionist history from this man.
Stated by an invasion that would never, ever have happened if I was president. And Joe Biden has led us to the very brink of World War III. They say Trump was right about everything. Well, I'm not predicting World War III, but I will say this. We're very close, and they're only talking about nuclear weapons. On top of it all, Biden is the most corrupt president in American history, and that's not even close. Nobody can believe what's going on, with, again, no retribution whatsoever. With such a calamitous and failed presidency, it is almost inconceivable that Biden would even think of running for re-election. You know what happened in the last election? They cheated and they rigged the election. But I promise you this, when I stand on that debate stage and compare our records, it will be radical Democrats' worst nightmare, because there's never been a record as bad as they have. And our country has never been through so much. There has never been a greater contrast between two successive administrations in all of American history, ours being greatness and theirs being failure. With your support in the election, we will defeat Joe Biden in 2024. We will rescue our economy. We will crush inflation. We will stop the invasion on our southern border. We will restore our nation's dignity, and we will prevent World War III from happening. Together, we will all make America great again. Thank you.
Now, I did agree with some of the things he said, which is that there has never been a starker contrast between two successive administrations. That is very much true. Joe Biden is not a perfect president. Joe Biden has not been a success on all fronts. Joe Biden is not nearly as left as I'd like him to be. But when you compare the context in which these two men became president, when Donald Trump became president, Barack Obama left him a pretty cushy situation. An economy on the rise after the Republican Bush administration. Once again, a Democrat had to dig us out of that hole. Unemployment was relatively low. The economy was great. We weren't involved in any wars other than, of course, Afghanistan. Trump inherited a pretty cushy situation. And then, like every other Republican in modern history, by the time he leaves office, everything's in the toilet. He's the only president in at least modern history, if not all of history, to leave office with fewer jobs, Donald Trump is, fewer jobs than when he came into office. There was a pandemic that he wildly mismanaged. There was, razor-thin margins in the legislature, a regressively conservative supermajority. Joe Biden inherited all that, and he's pretty deftly managed all of these things fairly competently. Donald Trump could never come close to that. Donald Trump failed to do anything. He failed to build the wall. He failed to repeal and replace Obamacare. He failed to, restore the economy. For a brief moment in time, the economy continued under the Obama era upwards trends, and then it tanked under the Trump administration. He never got us out of Afghanistan. He made the commitments. He set the stage for a very complicated, very messy withdrawal, and then he punted at the last second to the next administration because he didn't have the stones to follow through with it. This man is a liar. He is incompetent in every step of in every meaning of the term. And I don't know if he and Biden will end up having debates, because I think the RNC mentioned that they were going to not participate in debates. I think Ronna McDaniel of the RNC mentioned that earlier this year. So I don't know if a debate will happen. And it's entirely possible that it will be super cringe, because Biden is a gaffe machine and Trump is incredibly stupid, and he doesn't really know how to debate other than just, spew ad hominems and lies. But anyone who is honestly comparing these records, even if you don't like Joe Biden, it is simply a fact, an F-A-C-T, a fact, that the Biden administration's successes, especially given the context, vastly outstrip anything that ever came out of the Trump administration. So anyway, weak video, weak effort by Trump, and the odds are against him, against Joe Biden in 2024, and I think he knows it.